I'd like to jump down to the end of the panel to Zane Vella. Zane is the CEO and founder of RCDB, right? And previously been founder of something called Smash Television as well, and is a Georgetown graduate. We are making the other guys here honorary Georgetown today, because anyone who's willing to spend their afternoon coming here gets to be an honorary boy, I think. Zane, you have moved from the content side at Smash TV, where you were sort of making things that consumers saw, now back to the back end. And I'm curious about what drove you to make that transition. A lot of times people go the other way. What was it about the industry at this point that made you want to make that transition?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me here, and it's great to connect with the Georgetown Technology Alliance. I didn't actually know about the Georgetown Technology Alliance, and I'm actually now very happy to have learned about it, mostly because as a Georgetown graduate, I felt far away from the technology community. I guess in some ways I didn't realize how many of us there actually are, and that's exciting. I want to volunteer for something. That'd be great.
We'll take your name.
No, I'm serious. And so my video is nowhere near as pumping as the last
But actually,
one.
let's take a moment and give you a chance. Could we?
Actually, if I could, it might be better to talk a little bit and then maybe even talk over it for it to make sense. If that's okay.
Sure,
And I'll try and keep this brief. Just please cut me off.
Go for it. If you want to talk over it, just signal our friend here.
Okay, let's just not start just yet. I'm going to give just a little bit of background. So first of all, Orlando and the full service network was incredibly important, right? It was the dawn of the idea of that much of what it meant to have that much kind of computational power behind a television, so behind what people knew as a television. And I think it was actually about projecting the future. I don't think anyone expected that. Right.
Absolutely.
No one expected to actually have $15,000 set-top boxes. It was about like a view of the future. And it's amazing because a lot of it actually has come true. My path from Georgetown has actually been very interesting, where while I was at Georgetown, I actually started to work. I was lucky enough to have a professor by the name of Wilson Dysart. I don't know if anybody remembers him or any Georgetown alumni that were there. He was a brilliant guy. He had a career as a journalist and had worked in international telecommunications, and had a whole group of young undergraduates actually thinking about what it meant for information to become a utility. And I remember in those early days, it was like, well, what in the world does he mean, an information utility? But it was very early days of the internet, and kind of thinking about that as was a provocation from an academic in an international telecommunications context that was very exciting. And my whole career has been following some of that idea, like what it means to actually treat information as a utility. I spent 10 years prototyping set-top box experiences of the future. Smash TV was very much that. We worked for everyone from At Home, I don't know if anyone remembers At Home, from At Home to Replay TV to lots of television networks, mostly working at the intersection of what the DCT-2000 would be. At the time, this amazing set-top box of the future. And in a way, like I was like a behind-the-scenes wrencher for a lot of things that John Malone showed the world about what the future of interactive television was going to be when we finally had all the power of the DCT-2000, which was a set-top box that most people have today. In any case, it was tracking that and also doing a good amount of webcasting, like actually seeing. I put Lollapalooza on the internet in 1994 as a webcast. And it was kind of seeing this vision of interactive television, and at the same time doing a lot of webcasting, actually just shooting a video camera and plugging it into the internet and streaming it to people. And we've really just been watching those two things actually come together over the years. What the vision of the managed set-top box was, or what an interactive TV experience would be, and what you could actually do on the internet. And in some ways, as Ron mentioned, that has happened. We actually do now have, I mean, it's in the living room. We've got the PlayStation and the Xbox. That's 50-something million connected devices. Roku's another couple million probably out there. The Blu-ray player. The Blu-ray player is an internet-connected set-top box. There's 15 million of them on their own. So it's actually all there. And I think Ron's right again, where what is the use case? Who cares, right? Who cares? Like, how does it fit into my daily life? I sit down in front of the TV, do I really want to see anything in front of it? So with that kind of introduction, we'll take a look at this. We're building a database, basically a timeless effort to say any moment of content, right? Like any moment of premium content, meaning produced content. So television shows and films, any moment of a film or a television show has some related content associated with it. And by extension, some advertising or e-commerce opportunity. But we're focused on the content. Like, well, okay, for any moment in TV, what is related to that? So the related content database, RCDB, is a time-based database. Meaning, like IMDb, you query it and it tells you who's on screen, or pardon me, who's in the film. The related content database is you query it and it tells you who's on screen right now. What products are on screen right now. And we've indexed thousands of films and television shows and work with TV producers and content owners to create very rich metadata related to those things. And if you start that up, then you can see an example of how that data is actually used. So this is Mad Men. So the most important thing here is that imagine none of that stuff is on screen right now at all. Because that's actually the interface that we think makes sense. There's nothing there. But you press one button, the info button, and this turns on. And so what it's doing is it's telling you who's in the scene. And so we actually know at any moment in time who's actually in the scene and on screen right now. And what you're able to do is, in this case, the producers have provided a little bit of overlay, kind of backstory. So if you want to turn on that information layer to understand a little more of what's going on in that scene, you can. Or shut that off. And it's usually more fun to show this interactive, so you can actually see what happens. But as you move the arrows back and forth along the bottom, you can actually select any of those names and get some more information about that character. And then from there, also drive out into IMDb in this case to find out. Do you mind? I think maybe I gave you the wrong movie. It doesn't look like the interactive version.
I think actually, but that gives us a little sense of it. So in other words, it's giving us an opportunity to sort of dive into the content in a much more detailed way than we could if we're just sort of watching it as if we're in a car and it's passing by.
In a way, from a technical perspective, looking at it, that any moment of television has a set of web services behind it that makes sense to bring up to that moment.
Because it's a different use model of, as we were starting to say, of how are you going to use and absorb this information in your living room. Okay, next I'd like to introduce Jim Funk, who is Vice President for Business Development of Roku. And actually, I think we're going to jump right into a short Roku video.
We're a consumer products company. You're about to see an ad. If any of you are excited, I'll take credit cards after.
Okay, so a quick ad.
It's a discount.
So Roku's a box. It's a box, and Jim, you're taking a lot of the content that other people have built, particularly Netflix, which has obviously had a huge impact on what we do in our living rooms, and you're saying we're going to be the box that will deliver this all. Are you trying to replace our cable box? Should we get rid of that?
Well, you should, but I can't.
Well,
Yeah, we're a box, and I think we take a little different approach, where the thing that TV does really well is video, and so we're focusing on choice. You can do it all on demand. You don't have to pick what's being broadcast that minute, and then control. You can pause and fast forward and do all those things you're familiar with on DVR. So we're not trying to solve all the interactivity problems. It's primarily, gee, there's a lot of video out there. My cable company gives me this much of it. How do I get the rest and get it on demand?